delegates. It's great to have you here at this session. I am joined by the incredible Nathan East, who's coming out of San Diego at the moment.
Los Angeles, actually.
Los Angeles. So those of you in the audience, we'd love to hear which countries you're dialing in from. So do just type in your the country or the city and country you're in the chat. Those of you who are listening, we've got India, we've got Panama, we've got India, Pakistan. So those of Indonesia.
Terima kasih.
Another from India. So those of you in the audience, I'd love you to quickly close your eyes and imagine for a second that you are in a room with Michael Jackson. You are in a room with Whitney Houston. Keep those eyes closed. Okay. Imagine you're in a room with Beyonce, with Daft Punk, with Eric Clapton, with Phil Collins, Stevie Wonder, Barbra Streisand, George Harrison, and imagine how you feel in those rooms with those incredible artists that everybody around the world knows. And now you can open your eyes. So our friend here, Nathan East, who is kindly with us today, has been in the room with every single one of those people, from Michael Jackson to Whitney Houston, Daft Punk, Beyonce, Eric Clapton. And it is our great pleasure to have him share some of his experiences of his career over, how many years is that, Nathan? 50 years?
It's pretty close, definitely 40 plus.
44 plus decades. So Nathan's been a professional musician, an amateur magician, I hear, and a professional musician for over 4 decades, touring the world, recording with artists such as these, and playing concerts and at private events, just all over this world. So Nathan, in a typical year, a non-COVID year, how many days would you spend away from home for recording or for concerts?
Okay, so it could be anywhere from 50% to 60-75% of the year that I could be away from home, which is a lot.
That's a lot of time away from your beautiful wife and 2 kids. Like which countries would typically feature for your touring and recording?
Well, I have to say I've been to Japan 80 times, and since that's
anyone in Japan?
That's since 1980. So that averages about maybe at least twice a year. I go to London a lot, Indonesia for the Java Jazz in Jakarta. As a matter of fact, one of my basses behind me was given to me by Peter Gunther, who's the promoter for all the Java Jazz festivals. Switzerland, Europe, South America, Canada, China. I've been to Taipei, Seoul, pretty much all over.
You're absolutely living the dream, Nathan.
I need to come to India, though. I have not been to India.
You haven't been to India just yet. So
I just saw somebody send a message, come to India.
Come to India.
Yes. And I was in Switzerland, and the reason I have this shirt on is my Brompton bicycle shirt is because you and I met while riding bicycles, sort of brought us together, And so I thought it would be appropriate to this is how we came to know each other.
Absolutely. I should have had my Brompton bike here in the background.
Right.
In honor of that. Yeah, it was, I think it was 2015 November or October that we bumped into each other in Zurich. You were playing at I think it was called Jazz No Jazz in Zurich, and it was with your jazz band Foreplay.
Yes,
that's right. So those of you in the audience, just imagine that you bumped into Nathan East, one of the most recorded bass guitar players in the world for the last 4 decades. Imagine you bump into him in whichever city you're in. You happen to decide to go for a bike ride around town, because that's the kind of thing Nathan does when he usually tours the world for concerts. And you come to a lake on your bikes, and Nathan wants to take a selfie of you and him, and he pulls his phone out, and you see something in the background of his phone. And this is what happened to me, by the way. This is what happened to me. You said, Nathan, by the lake, let's take a selfie here to remember this moment. And as you took your phone out, I saw the background, and it was Barack Obama. So straight to the big event. That was a moment when you were playing at Barack Obama's inauguration. Isn't that right?
Yes. In 2009, we played on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. And pretty much every musician was playing there. You had Stevie Wonder and Bono and James Taylor, Garth Brooks, Beyonce, Mary J. Blige. You had, just A to Z of talent playing at his inauguration.
Incredible. And how was it to be at that event? I'm sure everybody in the audience would love to have been at Barack Obama's inauguration, but not just that, but not just to be there, but to be actually playing a huge role, playing a part in the festivities and celebration of somebody coming to power.
And it was a very festive moment. There were approximately 2 million in attendance. So to look out at an audience and see 2 million people, if you can imagine, like everyone standing on a newspaper, shoulder to shoulder, for as far as the eye could see in either direction, like left, right, and beyond, like at least for 2 miles into the distance. That was the sight that I was looking at from the stage.
That must have been incredible. Actually, must have been such a high to see so much human energy, human life just in front of your eyes. How did it feel for you to be playing there, to be maybe meeting some of the politicians, some of the people in government that day? And do you have any insights into how things work at the White House, how people treat each other at the seat of government?
Well, what I can tell you is there was a lot of security, and all of our entries we had to go through bomb sniffing dogs. So they would come to the car first, and they'd smell and check underneath. Then you go through another gate, and then they'd take your cases out, for instance, my guitar case, and so all that had to get screened, checked, x-rayed physically, and then we were sent back to another place where you had to see your ID, and finally we ended up on the stage, which is where we performed. It was still daylight outside, and I'll just always remember that the excitement. It was 1 degree. It was very cold, so we had these little portable heaters behind us that I would reach behind and warm my hands between songs. But I had a picture of my parents and my grandparents on my music stand because, you know, they weren't alive to see the first Black president of the United States of America, but it was like, it was a very emotional moment there to have that image and to look out and see and to realize what was happening. You know, it was a big moment for this country.
Wow, that's very special. And to think that you honored the people that raised you and your grandparents literally right there in that very special moment with so many people looking at President Obama, and your parents, your grandparents were there on the music stand.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And after we finished, you know, there was an announcement that we were all to stay seated, and they announced, please stay seated while the first family leaves, you know. So we were all kind of seated there, and then one by one, you know, Michelle and Barack came over down the line and shook each of our hands and said hello and thank you. And you know, he mentioned to me, he said, yeah, you were really laying it down, you know. And I thought, wow, he noticed the bass. And you know, he said thank you. And it was just, it was an exciting moment.
Well, that's definitely must have been one of the highlights. What are other highlights actually of your time playing around the world?
Another one was playing at the Royal Albert Hall for Her Majesty the Queen and Nelson Mandela, who were sitting in the same box. And afterwards, we had a chance to go around and meet them, which was very special. I played there many times, maybe over 100 times with different acts, primarily with Eric Clapton, but with Phil Collins, and we did some shows there, including Elton John and Mark Knopfler, Sting, you know, in this beautiful, fabulous building. And every year we used to do a charity event called the Prince's Trust. And again, we'd be lined up afterwards, and Princess Diana and Prince Charles came and would shake our hands, and we'd say hello. And that was very special. I also had a couple of times, one time played in the New Orleans Superdome for the Pope John Paul II. And there were 50,000 people in attendance, mainly young. And it was a youth rally, spiritual youth rally. And he came up behind us in the Pope Mobile, and he got out and he gave the blessing. And he actually came over to the stage while I was playing and reached his hand up, and I kept playing with the left hand and shook his hand with my right. And the Vatican got a picture of that and sent it to me. So it's very exciting events.
You literally go to all the events that I think everybody here would love to be at.
No, it was very exciting. Rock in Rio, another one, 250,000 people out in a big, huge field in Rio de Janeiro. Wonderful concert. I was playing with Al Jarreau, but there, you know, Queen had played, George Benson, lots of people, like a festival style. And to see, you know, 250,000 people out singing and just dancing and swaying with the music is a very, very emotional feeling.
Seeing 250,000 people swaying and dancing to music.
Unbelievable.
Well, and to think that you are playing a part in their excitement, their joy, their enjoyment at that very moment.
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a circular motion. We're enjoying and we're excited, but then they're excited. I remember Brazilian artist Ivan Lins was singing, and he's very popular there. I think he resides in Portugal for part of the time of the year. But lovely composer and singer and musician. And I'll never forget, like, every single person knew every lyric to all of his songs. So if you hear 250,000 people singing at the top of their lungs these beautiful Brazilian songs in Portuguese and dancing, and it really, it just, I've never felt anything quite like that.
Right, you must have felt so alive at that very moment.
Yeah, absolutely.
So a lot of the guys who dialing in today. By the way, if you do have any questions, do put them into the Q&A so that we can get to them. If anything you'd like to know, anything about Nathan, about his career and how he's got there, do plug that in. So you've been incredibly successful. You keep getting calls back to come and record, to come and play at concerts all over the world. As many of our audience either still at university or are at the beginning of their careers, what would you say are some of the aspects that have led to your own success and to keep getting calls back, to keep getting told, hey, come fly over here to Switzerland, come fly over here to Japan, come fly over to Indonesia? What are some of those, what insights would you have for our audience?
Well, I feel like the first component is just sort of hard work. You know, I mean, we all start and have dreams, but then we realize how hard we have to work, you know, just getting through school, our studies. And then after that, there's a lot of hard work that goes into say in the musicians, as a musician, getting the call, you know. And so they say getting the call is one thing, and then getting the call back is even more important, because that's what really lets you know if you did a great job or not. And a lot of things come to play: your work ethic, your personality, just your general spirit, you know, because in music, it's a community thing. It's a language that we all speak, and everyone should be sort of on the same page. So people look to see how you get along with other people. And I'm sure this would happen in any type of job. But you know, do you get along with the other people? Do people like, you know, being around you? Is the spirit just good, light? And so these are things that I've pretty much, you know, concentrated on over the years, and that have served me well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think is a very good point. I think working hard is something that we all know about.
Right.
Working hard is something that's instilled very much by our parents, I think, especially with those of you who have Asian parents in the audience. I think your point about having the right spirit is an interesting one, because it's not always obvious. We don't always think about how we come across when we work with others. But I think that, which I would love to work with you. I think you bring such an incredibly positive, warm energy, and even just the way you're smiling right now at us.
Thank you. The folks would be happy with that, with that comment.
Have you always been such a person, like so kind to other people, so warm, and so I think what I feel is that, you know, regardless who you're meeting, whether they are a doorman, whether they're a barman, whether they are an agent, a musical agent, whether they're the president, you would treat them in the same way.
You know, some of my best friends have been doormen and people that were sort of in the service business behind the scenes, you know. And again, humanity is something that I take very seriously, and I'm always kind of grateful to be part of, excuse me, to be part of a community, a worldwide community. And you know, like you say, regardless of who it is, I'm always excited about meeting people.
Well, I'm sure our audience is very excited to be meeting you at the moment. Just got vibe of saying, imagining what all is being said about your experiences, and even just imagining and wondering about these events that you go to, that you play at, that you have a role in, is giving him goosebumps.
Yeah, I mean, I do get goosebumps, you know, in some of these situations that I find myself in, and I'm, you know, you just think to yourself, you look over there and there's there's Barack Obama, you know, and there's Aretha Franklin in the same room, you know, and just there's Stevie Wonder, there's James Taylor, Smokey Robinson, and these are all people that I, you know, a lot of the artists that I just mentioned, I grew up listening to. So to not only play with them but to become friends is just it's a goosebump moment.
Yeah, I think actually, not only are you living the dream in the sense that you're getting flown all over the world to work and play, but you're doing something which I think a lot of people in the audience would say can be seen as a passion as well. You know, to play music, to play the guitar, all those guitars you have in the background.
Right.
It's not just work, but it's a passion.
It is a passion.
So if as some in the audience would be in this situation, if they were studying a particular subject, or they were working in down a particular path or career, but they had a hobby, they had a passion, a passion that's different. What would your advice be to them? You know, if they're heading one direction, which they may not be the one that they're absolutely passionate about. They might also be a musician. I don't know, might be a dancer, an artist of some sort. What would your advice be to those in the audience in that situation? I'm sure everybody here has things that they love to do outside of work, and maybe they'd love to make that their work, but they're not sure how to do so or whether to do so.
Well, you know, I'm passionate about a lot of different things. You know, the photography I love. I became a private pilot in the mid '80s. You know, so I love flying planes. I just recently got a drone. I love flying the drone. You know, like you said, I joined the Magic Castle and the Magic Circle in London. Always been fascinated by magic, and just so I find that there are a lot of things that interest me. And so I just kind of dive into those anyway, and things that I enjoy. You know, it's not like it's fun. I used to go on tour, and I'd practice magic in the hotel room in front of the mirror there, you know, and make sure everything was working, and practice over and over. And so in a way, it's just fun to have a lot of different interests. It keeps life interesting, and as well, you know, you never know if you could get as good at one, and then next thing you know, somebody may even hire you for that. You know, so then it could become a career. You know, for me, playing these instruments behind me, you know, is a passion, but then it's also what I do for my living. And so I feel extremely fortunate to be in that position where something that I really love to do is what my job is.
Yeah. And to go back to how it all started, I'll probably just share a quick timeline. You can add in more details. I think you were born in Philadelphia. As I studied mathematics at university, I can calculate from when we met 2015, you were about to turn 60. It was 1955. So you were born 1955 in the east side of the United States. I think your first instrument was cello.
Yes.
And then you moved into bass.
Right.
You studied music on the West Coast of America, at the University of California at San Diego. How did all the music start for you? How did you start getting calls to play?
You know, I was always a music lover, and my family, we were surrounded by music. And I have a brother, David, that played guitar. My oldest brother, Ray, was a singer, and we used to play in the churches around San Diego. My oldest brother, is now a Catholic priest, and he has a parish. He's actually a Monsignor, has a parish called St. Teresa of Avila in Washington, D.C. So if you're ever visiting D.C., please stop by and visit Ray East. So he kind of got the party started. He would sing, and we would play around churches in San Diego. and that's when I discovered the bass. And so we had a band that would go around and play. And once I decided that it was going to be something serious, that was my music major in college at UC San Diego. A couple of my professors were really became mentors to me. Bert Turetsky, who was the contrabass teacher, and Cecil Lytle, who taught jazz band. He had a gospel choir. He's also very accomplished classical pianist, jazz. We learned African rhythms, and we're actually working on setting up an endowed chair for him right at the moment. It takes a certain amount of finances and everybody on board to get that chair going. But then once that chair is established, it will be he'll have an endowed chair for African American studies, and so 45 years ago I met him, and we're still very close to this day.
Amazing, incredible. Actually, I'd love to ask, how was it working with a couple of people that the audience would definitely know, with Michael Jackson and Whitney Houston?
Yeah, both very talented. Michael is one of those artists that when you go into the studio with him, I mean, and I can remember pulling up to Westlake Studio. I looked at the car next to me, a black Mercedes pulls up with tinted windows, and he gets out of it with the red leather jacket. Looks like he just came out of a video. There's Michael Jackson, we're going to be in the studio with all day working, and nicest guy ever. We sat down and had meals together. He, telling jokes, but when he gets behind that microphone to go sing, you see the ultimate of professionalism. Same with Whitney Houston. She was 19 years old when I first encountered her, and we were in there, and they said, "Wait till you hear this young girl sing." And she walked in. She's beautiful, and she opened her mouth, and when she started singing those songs, we recorded "The Greatest Love of All," "Saving All My Love for You," and I just thought, boy, I do hope this record label knows what to do with this girl, because she can really, really sing, and of course they did, and she became a huge artist. Barry White was one of the very first people I recorded with, and again, he was very gifted. He would come in and sing all the parts to us. So he'd say, "I want you to play this bass part, boot, a boop, do," so he'd actually sing the parts there. You go to the guitar player and sing him the part. So we'd sit there and play these parts that Barry sang to us all. The next thing you know, it's a hit record.
Incredible. So you knew when you first met Whitney Houston that she was going to be something big.
Yeah, she was. You could never predict, but when she sang and the band played those songs, there was just something that you knew that this something very special. I mean, it was like that too with a few people. We were in with Madonna for her first record, and again, nobody knew who she was, but she made this record. Next thing you know, you're just hearing it on the radio everywhere.
You were playing on her first record?
Yes.
Nathan East, you were playing on Madonna's first record.
And absolutely. and it was like that with people when Don Henley made a solo album and away from the Eagles. I got the call to go in there again, in the studio, thinking, wow, this is a huge record taking place.
That's just absolutely incredible. And by the way, guys, those of you tuning in, do have a look at Nathan's Instagram, which is, I think, simply Nathan East, because there is that moment, Nathan, you talked about when you first met Whitney Houston and worked with her, and when, as you said, she was 19, and you felt that there was something pretty special in there. So do take a look at Nathan's Instagram, because there's that picture of Nathan standing with the team and Whitney on that very day in it must have been the 70s or in the 80s.
Early 80s, yeah.
Early 80s. So do check that out to add some color to that imagination. So if there are, you know, 5 songs that people in the audience would probably know most, what were those that you've played on that you were the bassist for? What would they be, Nathan?
There would be a song called "Get Lucky" by Daft Punk.
Of course,
people may have heard that.
Get Lucky, yeah,
There's
absolutely.
a
I'm sure everybody's heard that.
song called "Change." Yeah, that got a lot of radio play, and it was Song of the Year or Record of the Year at the Grammys. Another Record of the Year or Song of the Year that I played on was called "Change the World" by Eric Clapton. Babyface produced it. If I took you back to the 80s, one of the records that I played on that was again song of the Record of the Year was a song called "Footloose" by Kenny Loggins.
Love that song, Footloose.
Yeah,
it really makes you want to dance, actually. So
good,
doesn't it?
Very good song to dance to. And then you know, just kind of a few. Michael Jackson, I Just Can't Stop Loving You.
No way. You actually played on "I Can't Stop Loving You."
Yeah, and so yeah, there's been a few.
Gosh, I think all of us are going to listen to those songs. I Just Can't Stop Loving You. Footloose,
Tears in Heaven,
Get Lucky, Tears in Heaven by Eric Clapton. Change the World, with a different feeling now that we've all got to know you and your journey a little bit. I think Easy Lover was also one.
I forgot about Easy Lover. Yeah, Easy Lover, yeah, which I actually had a chance to co-write with Phil Collins and Philip Bailey.
Amazing. I won't attempt to sing that song, but I'll leave it to the audience to go check it out again. Easy Lover by Phil Collins. Well, honestly, I didn't even know all of these, actually, Nathan. But you know, every time I hear these, I'll just have your big smile and your voice.
A song called "Would I Lie to You" by the Eurythmics. That was a good hit in the early '80s.
That's an amazing one, actually.
Good dance.
Yeah. Wow. Gosh. How do you feel, actually, when you hear your own work being played somewhere? I don't know, in a bar or on a movie. How do you feel?
Well, it's exciting, you know, to know that this was something you went into the studio one day and recorded, and next thing you know, you're hearing it coming out of the loudspeakers at the mall or in a film, or it's just it's very rewarding.
Do you still tell the person next to you, "Hey, listen, this is my record"?
I am. No, but I mean, it's you know, just you get a little smile on your face and to think, you know, hey, yeah, that's us, and we had a good time doing that.
That's just incredible job satisfaction. Incredible.
Yeah, definitely.
In terms of culture, because you've worked with, you know, in so many different countries. As you said, you've been to Japan 80 times. Been to
80. Yeah,
80 times. In terms of culture, how have you seen the culture being different in various countries, and what have you liked, actually, about being working with people from those different cultures?
Well, I've always enjoyed collaborations and working with different cultures, just that you get a different perspective, and I mean, I love traveling for that reason. You get to really see the world through another set of eyes, and one of the things I always enjoy is trying out different foods, and you know, that's always interesting, because sometimes you don't even know what you're eating, but it's delicious. You know, so, and I like all types of food.
Yeah. In terms of the people, what have you noticed in different countries, and what do you like about them?
Well, for instance, in Japan, I've noticed, and a lot of the Asian countries where just the politeness is something that I think that we could learn from here in America. People are very polite and very reverent towards you, you know. Also, I notice a lot of these countries, even though there's a lot of people, some of them there's very clean. I'm going, where's all the gum wrappers and and cigarette butts? You look in the street and they're just meticulously clean, you know. And that's, to me, that represents a society that has respect for their own environment, and so they keep it clean. And I love that about visiting other countries. Again, you know, we talked about the food. Sometimes the dress is very colorful. When I've gone to Africa and South Africa, places like Cape Town and Johannesburg, Swaziland, Mozambique, the dress is very colorful and very spirited, you know. And so it's, yeah, it's, I think everyone should travel in their lives and as much as possible.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, Nathan. Definitely agree with that. I've been fortunate myself to have done a lot of travel in many countries. I think for what you do though is to travel for work, to be paid to travel is what everybody here would absolutely dream about.
It's a pretty good deal.
It's a pretty good deal, absolutely. Yeah. So a lot of highs in your life and career in the last 4, 5, 6 decades. Have there been any lows, and if so, how have you managed those? I actually, to be honest, looking at you, Nathan, and how often you smile and the kind of energy that you bring to a room, and when you have a conversation with somebody, I can't imagine any difficulties in your life, but do share.
I must admit, I've been blessed. There haven't been any really lows to speak of. I think early in life, when you're really when you have a vision for where you want to be, and there's so much difference, that's the only thing that I can think of where, wow, I'm almost impatient. I want to get there, you know. But again, you know, hard work and kind of just one foot in front of the other, step by step, things have unfolded. And I must say that even since I really started working heavily in this town, say like from 1980 on, there haven't been any lows that I can think of in terms of just, I've been very fortunate and blessed to meet some of the greatest people, to have some friends that long-standing relationships. And again, you know, I first worked with Eric Clapton in, I think it was 1983 on an album called Behind the Sun. And here it is coming up on 40 years later. And we're about to, next week, we're about to go out on tour and do some dates here in the States. So it's been a long, fantastic relationship. And again, lots of highs.
Lots of highs. Yeah, again, I'm just so impressed by your demeanor and your mood all the time. You know, every time we speak, it's just so incredibly positive. And I think that's something that people here could, and myself could take away and remind ourselves about. I think when you go into a situation or a friendship or relationship or even just an encounter, and you always bring this positivity, an ability to laugh, and just wanting to, I just feel you always want the best for the person in front of you.
Well, and when you and I met, you know, I was actually impressed by the fact that, you know, we had just met, but next thing you know, you invited me to your home, and you know, within a few hours, we're dancing in your place, and it was just, I thought, you know, this is really a part of life that I enjoy, because it wasn't planned. It was something that just happened spontaneously, very naturally and organically, I think those, here we've kept in touch with for all these years. And if you think just happened that we were both riding down our bikes down the lake, along the lake in Zurich, it's fascinating to me.
Life is just so serendipitous and so beautiful. So often, I think.
Yeah, and
we have to.
It's wonderful. I often, spend a lot of time praying for those less fortunate. When I look at what's going on in other parts of the world, and earthquakes in Haiti and what's happening in Afghanistan, it breaks my heart, to see, just by virtue of being born in a certain place at a certain time, the differences in what a life can be.
Absolutely. So we do have to be grateful for whatever we do have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd love to get some questions from the audience. We've got a few coming in. So if you do have more in the audience, do share them. I just before I just get to some questions, I just want to probably expand on that what you talked about just now about how we met. I think it's a funny story for me, because I used to work in financial services, but now I'm a professional photographer, portrait photography particularly, and it was because I was taking some portraits of a person you revere very much, Ernie Fields Jr., a saxophonist from the United States, a jazz saxophonist. He was, I think he was 81 at the time, so he's probably 87 now. And I was taking his portraits. I'd seen his concert the day before, and I just loved the way he looked at his other bandmates, and with such a smile, and just looked like he was really enjoying being part of that of the team. And I thought to myself, this is the cutest grandpa I've ever seen in my life. And as he walked off stage, I handed him a little note to say I just resigned from my job, from my career in financial services, and to become a professional photographer, and I would love to take his portrait. The next day, I ended up in the hotel lobby where he was staying, of the hotel he was staying at, and I was taking his portraits in the lobby by the front window of the hotel. And then you turned up. You checked in, and I didn't know you at the time, and you introduced yourself to Nathan. I just remember how respectful you were of him. You said something about your brother or his cousin that you remember being an idol 50 years ago. And then you asked me, you said to me, there's one thing that you always do. No, you said to me, do you know where I can find a bicycle around here? Because whenever I go touring and playing music on concerts, I always try to take a cycle through the city that we're playing in, just to get a good feel for the place. And do you remember what I said? So what I said was, well, you can get a rental bike over there in Zurich. It's free. It's called Zuri Rot. It's free bikes, free public bicycles. But I wasn't actually sure if it was running at that point. It was November or October, so it wasn't summer. And I said, you know what, Nathan, I've got a friend who just come into town from Taiwan, and I've got to show her the city anyway. So we're probably going to go on a cycle. And I happen to have 3 bicycles for some reason. And I'm very, very glad that I do now. And why don't you come take the 3rd bicycle and cycle with us in Zurich?
It's coming back to me now. Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And you said, okay, give me a few hours. I'm going to go check in and relax a little, and we'll meet and go for a cycle.
Wow.
So we were cycling, and as I said earlier, there was the selfie moment when you asked to have a selfie by the lake, and I saw Barack Obama on your phone, and at one point you said, I need to get some. We were sitting at this beautiful point in Lake Geneva called the Zurichhorn, by China Garten it's called, and looking down at the mountains on this pier, wooden pier across the water. And you said, I need some batteries for I don't know, some musical instrument that you have, and where can I go pick those up? And I said, well, there's probably a shop over there. But you know what? I've just picked up 24 AA batteries on offer in Taiwan. It was 2 weeks ago, and they were on offer, so I bought all of them. And you know what? I don't think I can use all of them. So why don't you just come back to my place and pick those up and then take that to the concert? There's no need to buy some more. So we cycled over, and it's at that point, as you say, we were the dancing scene came. Nathan ended up dancing in my living room the day we met.
Wow, unbelievable.
And yeah, you know, the thing that I always remember is it was Gangnam Style that we played on my Xbox.
Right.
I got this Xbox just because for the dance games, by the way. I think a lot of you are in India, so you adore dancing, you love to dance. So do I. And I said to you, you've got to play this game. It's just the best thing to do with your friends, and maybe you should get one. And I put Gangnam Style on. You're dancing in my living room with my friend. And then at one point in Gangnam Style dance routine, you have to go down on the floor, like get down almost in a press-up position. And you were doing all of this so with so much joy and enthusiasm. And I recall thinking, oh my goodness, when you were on the floor, like literally lying on the floor, I recall thinking, gosh, I just made this 60-year-old man like lie down and dance and lie down on the floor in my living room. This is so embarrassing.
Oh, that's too funny.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for clarifying the story, because that's right. We were in the lobby, and I couldn't believe how you like your kindness is. Oh, well, I have a third bike. Like, what are the chances? And then normally, it's like people don't really follow through, but you followed through, and I thought, that was really great, and again, through both of our interest in cycling, we were able to connect.
And I think what's funny is that sometimes in life, so for the audience, sometimes in life, so many things just align. I had those 24 batteries from Taiwan, which I purchased just 2 weeks ago, and you happen to need some batteries, and I wanted to not be sustainable and make sure that these batteries get used. So asked you to come along, and then I had the dance game, which I'd been recently crazy about, and then you ended up buying it for your kids, I think, that Christmas.
Right. and we put it on the telly, and we all danced in front of it, when their friends and cousins came over. Everybody, it was fun to watch everybody dance. And I remember thinking of you. I said, okay, what a great call, a great idea.
Yeah, gosh. Oh man.
So in other words, it's your kind of, again, zest for life, and not being like you didn't have any inhibitions about connecting with people, to give a note to Ernie Fields, and then he responded positively to that, and to offer me the third bike. Those are things that, so you initiated that, and then we followed through. And so I think that's a big lesson here about having, exerting a little extra something in your character that will connect you to other people.
Yeah, and trying to be of service, trying to be of help to other people in the way that we can.
And you left your life of, to become a photographer, something that you're passionate about. You left your sort of business life, which I'm sure you're making good money, but that again shows you that, well, maybe it's not the most important thing, how much money you have. It could be something more important, like something you're passionate about.
Yeah, absolutely. Gosh, it's just such a pleasure to be speaking to you, Nathan. I just want to go to some questions from the audience. Here's one. What pushed you or motivated you to become a bassist?
You know, I started on cello and in the 7th grade. And then when I got to, after a few years, and I got to the 9th grade, my ear just kind of went to the bass, and I started listening to all these great bass lines and bass players, you know. So I was drawn to it. And my brother played guitar. I couldn't get my fingers in those little shapes, but then the bass had four strings on it. And I'll never forget the first time I picked one up in a church called Christ the King Church, where it was just on the altar laying there, and I picked it up, and it just had this fantastic feeling to it, you know. So from that point on, I was very motivated.
Great to hear that. Great to hear that. Here's another one. Being a person who loves fearlessly following their passions, you must have faced a lot of initial traction and discouragement in your early days. And how did you respond to those? P.S. Loving your energy and vibe! Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark!
Thank you very much. Well, I think whatever we do, whatever we're passionate about, and whatever kind of like we aim to do, if it's worth anything, there's going to be a hill to climb. And so early days, the one good thing about being young is you have a lot of energy, and so you're able to you know, expend that energy trying to get to where you want to go. And at the same time, you know, when people are trying to push you down for whatever reason, some people, it just makes them feel, it elevates them in their mind if they're able to push somebody else down, you know. And that's just a trait that I've come up against over the years, where people, it's something about nature where, okay, in order for a person to feel better about themselves, they have to kind of push you down, you know. And so that's one of the things that you learn to sidestep. And I kind of learned to study people's energy, and then just use their energy in a way that goes with them instead of kind of against. And I find that's something that works for me, and I do work on that. You know, just I study people, I study their habits, and you know, just in terms of, if somebody's looking for a fight, then you have to figure out a way to turn that energy into something peaceful. You know, so it's a very interesting study to walk through life with.
Yeah, and then as you said, as you were saying, there are some people who try to put you down, and that's how it makes them feel they're making progress. I just was thinking, wow, this is literally the polar opposite of you, Nathan. You know, you always want to see people doing well, being happy, and it's something that it just felt really strange having that thought and having you in front of me, because you're just the absolute opposite.
Well, you know, if you think about it, even if you have a business or anything, you know, if the people on the very bottom, if they're doing well, it automatically means that you're doing well, you know. So for me, I like to see the entire world doing well, you know, and I like to see whatever anybody's doing. If they're happy and doing a good job, I think everybody's happy then. And it's sort of counter to the thought of war and the other thing we're talking about people trying to put somebody else down.
Yeah, I just love what you said there, to see everyone doing well. I think that's something we should always try to keep in the back of our mind, and to take joy from.
Yeah.
So here's one. What is your, I think we've got 5 minutes left. What is your advice for What is your advice for aspiring musicians who are just starting to develop their craft in their early 20s?
Well, my advice would be that, you know, you should definitely, absolutely love it. Don't do it for any other reason except the fact that you are passionate about it and you really love it, you know, because some people do it for, okay, I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to be famous. I mean, those are all cool if they happen to come along, but you really have to, in your heart, feel like this is just something that I absolutely love. And then it draws you to it. And I think it makes you a better musician because you're doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I think as we go through school, through university, and start our first careers, I think money is a very big factor. Often we think, oh, what's can be the biggest paid job? Where am I going to get the most money? But I think, yeah, as you say, finding something where you just really enjoy it. I think that you probably agree. It'll enable you to work hard enough that the money will come later on.
Right. Yeah, it's a very tricky thing because, you know, you have to eat, you have to have a place to stay, you know, roof over your head. So it becomes a balancing act.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got just a couple more minutes now, and here's a question, which is, you've been in the industry for more than 40 years, met other incredible legends in the music field. What was your most memorable interaction? I would be humbled to know.
You know, a couple of those I mentioned, you know, playing those times either at the White House or inauguration. I've played 3 inaugurations, 2 for Bill Clinton, President Clinton, 1 for President Obama. Playing in the Royal Albert Hall in London has been always fun, and I get to do a lot of these shows where there's multiple artists, and a lot of times there's a big jam at the end. So, you know, you'll find yourself looking on stage and jamming with, you know, all the best guys and all some of your favorite, you know. So I recently did a jam with Joe Walsh, Steve Lukather, Ringo. I mean, it was like I was looking up and saying, wow, there's a Beatle there that I'm jamming with. And it's just fun to play with people that you know, I was a fan of these people, and then I'm playing, you know. George Benson, I think, is one of the greatest guitar players, and I've had a chance to jam with him and play with him, record, as well as people like Pat Metheny, who lives in New York, and he's invited me to his house, and we sat around his house and played. I'm saying I'm playing with these great musicians, you know, and Herbie Hancock is another musician that I did, Chick Corea, who I just had the chance to play with these. And then I'm in a band with some of my favorite musicians, Bob James, Harvey Mason, originally Lee Ritenour, then Larry Carlton, then Chuck Loeb in our band called Foreplay. And we've had a chance to travel around the world together. And I'm saying I get to be in a band with these guys. You know, it's amazing.
That's amazing. Gosh, I would just absolutely love to speak more to you and find out more about these experiences with Foreplay, especially as that's the band that I came to see on that day that we met. But we'll have to reconvene another time, maybe on a podcast that I'll love to feature you on.
Thank you. Yeah, because we didn't get a chance to play this time, but next time we'll pull out the instrument and try to play a couple notes.
Oh gosh! Wow. Well, we'll definitely have to do that next time, Nathan.
Absolutely.
Just wanted to quickly take a selfie for ourselves, and also give a chance for those in the audience to take a quick screenshot, because, you know, if there's anything particular that you were inspired by, or something you took away from listening to the incredible Nathan East, we'd love for you to just post a quick photo and share what that was with us, so we can interact a little bit with you. We would have loved to see you in person, but just going to do a quick selfie, and you can do a photo now. Okay, here we go. Why don't you get the guitar up?
There we go.
There we go. Wait, let's do the Japanese. Is that Japanese? Asian, pure, real Asian.
Right.
Great. So do share what you took. One thing you took away from this, and tag Nathan on Instagram or on LinkedIn. His Instagram is Nathan East, and mine is Julian Say TSE1 with the number 1. Nathan, it's been such a pleasure to hear about your journey and all the experiences that you've had playing for Barack Obama, with Eric Clapton and Michael Jackson, Beyonce, and so on. Really appreciate your time and sharing that you've done today for everybody here. Really looking forward to keeping in touch and seeing what you get up to through your Instagram and where you're cycling next.
Absolutely. Well, let's definitely do some cycling in the near future. And the other thing is just I want to just tell all the students that, you know, sometimes it just seems like the amount of work is overwhelming, but it's so worth it. And you only get this opportunity at one point in your life, because then as you go through life, you're working, and then you have families, and there are things that are happening that, you know, would preclude what you're doing now. So enjoy every minute if you can. And again, you know, the world will be left in your hands. So we're counting on you to make it a better place.
Appreciate that, Nathan. There are people in the audience that are saying, could you play for something for us? It would be really great if we could have heard you play something live. I don't know if we have time for that. Maybe, or should we do that next time?
Yeah, I think you're the moderator. I think sometimes these Zooms, they cut you off at about an hour or so. What is it?
Yeah, Minsu, if you're there, let us know if we'd have a couple more minutes. Just want to read meanwhile while we wait for Minsu. Vaibhav, a note that came in. Vaibhav saying, "God, you're more than 60 years young, and the enthusiasm and the vigor that you carry from going to different places to trying out different foods is just so inspiring, especially for the younger audience over here."
Oh, thank you so much. Now it's I'm inspired by travel. I'm inspired by life, and it's always such a pleasure and joy to go meet new people around the world, make new friends, and you know, that's what I keep looking forward to doing.
And to speak to new friends as we are today, right?
Absolutely.
All right. So let's just spend just 2 or 3 minutes listening to some of your music, because, you know, we've been speaking about it for the last hour, and I think it would be so beautiful for everybody to just hear a little bit of the music that you play.
Do you have some there, or am I going to play a little bit, or what?
Oh, my musical skills, Nathan, aren't really up to par.
I didn't know if you had it, and I hadn't anticipated. Let me even see if
And what a wonderful way to close off the session with actually listening to some of your actual music.
Now, I don't have my headphones or anything, but is this bass coming through the sound of the instrument, or?
That's coming through.
You can hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, because I can't, but if you can hear it, I would just go. If I could change the world, I would be the sunlight in your universe. You would think my love would say there's something good. Oh, if I could change the world.
Nathan. Wow. What an absolute way to end. That's just so beautiful. Somebody said, wow, this is awesome. I am in heaven. Daniel. Great. Nathan, it's been a pleasure to see you again.
And you, Julian. What do you say we meet up by the lake?
We meet up, you cut off, meet up by Lake Zurich, did you say?
Yes.
Absolutely. I would love to do that. Or come over and dance in front of your television this time.
Right, exactly. Anytime.
Thank you, Nathan. Appreciate you.